Kenya is being run like a kiosk. Kenya is being run worse than how you'd run a kibanda. And on my show today, we will see very clearly the evidence that supports this statement, that actually supports this reality. Let us start with the foreign affairs docket, just as a very clear example. Foreign affairs is critical because it is how other countries see Kenya. It is how investors see Kenya, so that they can make the decision of bringing their precious capital into the country, investing in our country, and creating jobs. Or even make the opposite decision, decide to leave the country, stop operating here, go away with their money, and with those precious jobs that Kenyans rely on. The foreign affairs docket has clearly been a very badly run kibanda, kiosk, let alone the foreign affairs docket of any country, even a banana republic. The PS in this ministry, who by the way is a lawyer, was the other day throwing barbs at Kenyans, and especially Kenyan fake analysts. Oh yes, he called them fake analysts. And he wanted to prove to them why it was a very good idea for the government of Kenya, President William Samoei Ruto, to play host to a rebel leader from Sudan. And not only a rebel leader, somebody who has been blacklisted. He was trying to prove to Kenyans, we are wrong in our analysis. All those Kenyans on social media who raised concerns that were just logical, just common sense, Bwana Korir was calling them fake analysts, and he wanted to prove to them they were wrong. And so do you know what he did? He posted a video online, purportedly a video from CNN, analyzing the situation and praising Kenya. In fact, calling the Kenyan effort in Sudan pure genius. Kumbe ni ukweli, watu wanatubeba wafala sana. Immediately, Kenyans could see this was something fake. And the truth is, somebody did not need to be an expert on technology, on AI, artificial intelligence, to be able to detect that it must have been a fake. Why? Because the arguments being presented there sounded very much like the arguments of a certain well-known senior Kenyan politician. Allow me to leave it there. And those arguments were ridiculous. They did not make any sense, even to somebody who is not a diplomat. And so, in other words, the Foreign Affairs PS, in order to prove his point against fake analysts, posted a fake video. What? I think these people have forgotten. This is not 1980 or 1990. Wakenya wamesoma. It is not so easy to fool Kenyans these days. It isn't. So if you use 1980, 1990 tactics, or rather use that kind of attitude, and you think AI can fool Kenyans, you'd better think again. And so this PS hurriedly deletes this video. But then it is too late. It has circulated widely, online, in various platforms. And now our Ministry of Foreign Affairs has become a laughingstock worldwide. Our dear motherland is being run like a kiosk. And this was hot in the heels of yet another incident involving foreign affairs, where a foreign national, a Ugandan, Dr. Kiza Besigye, was kidnapped in Nairobi, bang in the CBD. Because in my book, Riverside Drive is part of the CBD. In this very embarrassing incident that attracted worldwide attention, the same PS Korir denied that Kenya was involved in any way in this kidnapping ordeal. I'm not sure what he was trying to tell us. Because if Kenya was not involved, then what he was really saying is that some thugs kidnapped a foreign national and then crossed the border, and we are told the vehicle crossed the border without stopping. Crossed the border and into Uganda, which now is another even bigger scandal. But on my show today, we will see evidence that in fact proves beyond any doubt whatsoever that actually Bwana Besigye alisetiwa. A trap was set for him by somebody he knew, and he was lured into this trap, and they even planted evidence where this trap was. But please allow me to come back to that later on my show today. Here's something for you to look forward to. It is crazy, I can tell you. But first, I would like to address an area where our foreign affairs docket can be useful to Kenyans. In fact, they can save the country. Instead of getting involved in kidnappings and telling lies, there is something very useful they can do that should immediately benefit so many Kenyans right across the country. Okay? And let us start that saga from the beginning. Now, most of us know what is happening in the United States of America right now concerning Kenyans living there. Many of them are living in fear. Even those who have papers are not comfortable. Okay? Why? Because it is emerging that even those with papers who have a criminal record are being sent back home. Now, you know, a criminal record in the US could be you are caught drunk while driving. Now in Kenya, that is not even a crime. It's normal. Kidding. Well, of course it is a crime. In Kenya, it is not serious. How many people have you heard being charged with driving while being under the influence? How many? It is not a serious thing here. But in the US, it is serious. And so I am informed that about 4 days ago, a hard-working Kenyan who has lived in the US for years, all his makaratasi are in order. This Kenyan saw those gentlemen from ICE at his doorstep, and he came out very confidently. He knew his things are okay. Only to be told, excuse me, do you remember 2 years ago? You were arrested and you were charged. Yeah, you were drunk while driving. And pop, this Kenyan was in handcuffs. And within a few hours, he was on a military plane being flown back to Kenya. He left his mortgage. He left his house. He left his cars. He left his investments. It was a tragedy. Now, of course, I'm aware, you know, Kenyans are very funny people. I'm aware that there's some Kenyans back home who don't think this is serious. You know, Kenyans are very strange people, bizarre people. You know, there are jealousies, issues, even within families. And of course, some parents promote it. You go to visit your parents, and then they tell you, no, we're busy talking to your brother who is in the US. They have no time for you. I'm sure you know what I mean. Bottom line, there are some Kenyans celebrating, which is not being very clever. I'm really avoiding using abusive language. And they're not clever because what is Kenya's highest foreign exchange earner? It is remittances from Kenyans in the diaspora, and especially Kenyans in the US. And so I need to ask a question. All this drama unfolding in the US, will it affect our country, or it will have zero effect? Please answer that question for yourself. Now, I know many of us don't know this, but there is a country called Cuba, which got into a lot of problems when communism collapsed. The Berlin Wall came down, and the old USSR collapsed. And you know, Fidel Castro and Cuba were heavily dependent on Russia. And suddenly that country was very broke, collapsing in a major crisis. They did something very simple. Up to that time, they did not allow dollars from Cubans living abroad, especially in the US. And so Castro just changed this law and allowed Cubans to remit back home US dollars to help their families. And that saved the country called Cuba. I have told that story to emphasize how serious the situation facing Kenya is. Yeah, this story ya Jaba, it is very serious. And I predict that it is going to hit us in a very big way within the next 2 months. 3 months tops. And so, staying on topic, if we had a serious government and a serious foreign affairs docket, they would have come up with a plan to negotiate with Donald Trump. Donald Trump has negotiated with many people. He has been a businessman all his life. And the truth is, a vast majority of Kenyans living in the United States help that economy. They're serious people. They're not criminals. And of course, whether we like it or not, they're critical to the Kenyan economy. And I don't think it would have been very difficult to negotiate a deal so that those who are waiting for their papers, those who are still in the process, can be given time. Would that have been so difficult to negotiate? Of course, I'm not talking about the illegals. No. Negotiating a very simple deal where these Kenyans can come forward and register and be given time, 6 months, 1 year, to sort themselves out. Would that have been so difficult to negotiate? But no. Our foreign affairs docket is a kibanda. They will never think in that direction. It would seem that they are not interested. It would seem that they do not even see the impact it is going to have on Kenya's already struggling economy. Can this government be helped? Seriously? Even if Raila lends them people, experts, so-called experts, can this government be helped? I, like most Kenyans, believe they should just go home. The whole lot of them. One day, we get people who can do the job. Please. Now, as earlier promised, I want to give you solid evidence of what really happened with the Kizza Besigye. Very illegal kidnapping. Just listen to this brief audio. I'll be back shortly.
He came here to Nairobi to attend a book launch by the Honorable Martha Karua, who is a friend. He arrived on a Saturday, and the launch was going to be on a Sunday. Then someone he knew had invited him to meet him here in Nairobi, who is a British national, as far as he knows. And this British national said he had a group of colleagues and friends and businesses who invest in Africa who wanted to support political parties and could support their mass mobilization work, their party activity. So he was exploring this. And he was invited to a meeting in Riverside. He went with his party colleague, Haji Obed Kamlegea. And when they arrived there and they entered the room and were just being introduced to two people, the one he knew and another he didn't know, a knock on the door, and it is announced that it's Kenya police that has arrived. Turns out it's 8 men in plain clothes. He could not tell who was who, but they say you're under arrest. And in the room was this man and his friend with 2 guns and with a box of money, or so-called money. He doesn't know whether it was money or not. And they said, you're under arrest. And he said, wait a moment. I don't know why this man came with 2 guns. I don't know why he has this box of money. I did talk about fundraising, but I wasn't expecting this. He didn't have time. He was just taking photographs of. And then the man who opened the door, the British man, had disappeared at this time, vanished. And he was left with one other man whom he didn't know. So 4 of the men bundled him and his party colleague in a car and drove them the whole night towards the border with Uganda. They crossed the border into Uganda without stopping. It was clearly an operation, well planned. Somewhere towards Nakuru, the 4 men who abducted them forgot and started talking in our language. So Kizza Besigye said, well, I wish you'd told us we speak the same language.
So, it was Museveni goons with 1 or 2 Kenyan policemen who did the job. Now hold on a minute. Where did you hear foreign nationals making an arrest in a foreign country? Can you go today to Uganda and arrest a Kenyan? Can you? Hey, this is more serious than most people think it is. A government being run like a kiosk, a kibanda. It is not helping the people. It is benefiting personal interests of very few. And these personal interests of very few are in conflict with the general interests of the people of Kenya. That is really what it is. This is too much. This kiosk kibanda manenos. Anyway, now this is the absolute final call for my special report. Yeah, this is the final 48 hours that it will be available. So please take full advantage of the crazy price, only Kenya shillings 1,999. And you'll also get all other previous special reports pop in your inbox. You can see details on your screen. Please act with speed to avoid being left out, because this is the absolute last final chance, the final 48 hours. Asanteni sana. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.